Has anybody killed one of these things that you know of, or shot them, or anything?
Well, yeah, there's a story that was told to me. I've told this story many times now, but it's worth hearing. It's a great story. Man came in, a former Navy SEAL. He lives right here in the San Lorenzo Valley, in a little town called Ben Lomond. When he was a kid, he lived up in the above Sacramento, up near Shasta. He said his father owned property under Lake Shasta, and he had a friend. The father had a friend, an old man named Briner, Elmer Briner, and he was a mountain man, made his living killing grizzly bears. So this fella here, the local man, Murphy, he heard stories all the time from the old mountain man about his grizzly bear hunts, and he had, you know, grizzly bear tooth marks on his belly and scratches on his body, and he was the real deal. Well, anyway, he told young Murphy that around 1900, he and his Indian companion Cannonball were hunting grizzly at the mouth of the Pitt River, where it met up with the Sacramento River, and he had occasion to see the back of a grizzly bear was sitting on a sandbar, and so he took careful aim and he shot the grizzly in the back of the head, and he watched it go down, and then started making his way down the canyon to harvest the bear. Cannonball the Indian had heard the shot, and he was coming across on a little cart attached to a cable. The two of them converged on the bear at about the same time, and the local man, who was standing right here in the museum telling me this story, he kind of choked up at this point in the story, and he got a little tear in his eye, and he said, "Excuse me, but I get a little emotional at this point, because old Elmer almost cried like a baby when he told me this story, because he said that when they turned that thing over to gut it, that it had a human face, human hands, human feet. And he realized he'd killed some sort of a wild man. And he was absolutely beside himself with guilt. And for the rest of his life, whenever anybody talked about wild men or anything like that, he'd get up and leave the room for fear that he might break down because of his guilt that would come up whenever he thought about it. And you know, that I could just feel the emotion being transferred by Murphy from old Briner, you know, clear across a couple of centuries there, right to me, and boy, it made a firm impression. I believe that story 100%.